Helps if I get this to work right. Hi, everyone. TJ Hall's I45 Now and Pod Now, and welcome to another edition of UTMB Health Insights, where we take a look at the different programs offered by UTMB Health to keep you healthy and well. And as we're doing this in December into the new year, and we're glad to have you on our final edition of 2024. And as we look around the corner, this is the time when people start thinking about, yes, we're going to have a great Christmas meal, but oh, I had so many treats and candies and stuff. I really need to get healthy and lose some weight in the new year. And that's always one of those discussions that folks have. And for some, that route to get to a better health is going through bariatric surgery. So we have brought the team over from UTMB Health's bariatric weight loss area here today, and we're glad to have our guest with us here today. Let me start here to my left and to your right, in kind of in the middle actually, is Dr. Lauren McTaggart. She is a bariatric surgeon for the program. We have Carrie Kuko, who is the bariatric surgery coordinator. And then we have Katie Standifer, who is a nurse practitioner in the bariatric center. And joining us remotely, as you see her here in the lower part of your screen, that's Chelsea Hoover. She's the dietitian for the bariatric program as well. Ladies, thank you all for coming on with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you
for
having us.
Dr. McTaggart, let me start with you here because I'm one of those, and we'll talk a little bit more, that went through bariatric surgery some time ago, but it's something now we used to see the commercials all the time for the fly-by-nighters and stuff. UTMB Health had a program, backed off, came back not too long ago, and had that. But talk about the change in what's offered through bariatric weight loss surgery now as compared to maybe 10 years ago or so.
Sure. So again, thank you for having us here today. Bariatric surgery has been around actually probably for a lot longer than many people think. It's been around probably upwards of 50, 60 plus years. Just has not become more popularized until probably last, let's say 20, 30 years or so. That being said, it has evolved significantly in those years since we kind of started doing weight loss surgery. And there's a lot more options for patients that we have these days. So when it kind of started with gastric bypass. We've evolved from gastric bypass. We've added things like, very familiar to a lot of people, gastric bands. Things upwards of gastric sleeves, which is a very common procedure that we do. And coming much more into practice are newer procedures that we're doing now more commonly, including things like a duodenal switch or things called a SADIE-S, which is a combination of almost a gastric bypass mixed with a gastric sleeve. We're doing revisional gastric surgery for weight loss on patients who've had previous weight loss surgery. We're managing and treating complications from any surgeries that have been done. You know, there are a lot of weight loss surgeons, but there are also a lot of surgeons that do weight loss surgery. They're a little bit different. Here at UTMB, we are weight loss surgeons and we are a weight loss program. So we really provide a very comprehensive approach to patient care when you come to us for weight loss, in particular for weight loss surgery.
And there's a lot to take in there. So one of the things as you're noticing the different procedures, one of those, I call it a fad because it's not really around anymore, was, we have heard about lap band. That's not even on the table anymore for weight loss, is it? It's been found pretty much ineffective and defective in many cases, has it not?
There are some practices that still practice with the procedure of a lap band, gastric banding. A lot of weight loss surgeons do know the risks of gastric bands that can be there long term as long as the band is in. And so typically a lot of us will recommend that gastric bands should come out with the discussion of, should we talk about a revisional weight loss surgery if weight gain or obesity is still an issue that you're struggling with?
So what's the most common procedure that you're performing nowadays?
The most common procedure that's still being performed sort of nationwide would be a gastric bypass. Those numbers are always changing and in flux. A gastric bypass is kind of the gold standard of weight loss surgery still.
So let me ask though, because now here in recent years, we're hearing about these prescribed medicines that started out as, it sounds like we found the silver bullet medicines that are out there, but not really. You're seeing the commercials for it start out as diabetic medication, but then they saw the weight loss benefits of that, whether it's Ozempic or some form. Semaglutide is, I guess the generic term that's used. Can you talk about those, how that's changed? Because you're on the surgical side. There's actually a medical side that would deal with that within UTMB Health. But how has that changed what you do in your industry? And we're going to get Carrie and Katie into that part too.
Sure. So weight loss medications are out there. There is a lot of options for weight loss medications. We call it medical weight loss management. So it's the alternative route to surgical weight loss. And they've also been around for a while. They have also just become more popularized. And like you had already alluded to, they have been there to treat things like diabetes, but now they have also been approved for weight loss in certain patients. The problem is so obesity for any of our patients or anybody struggling with obesity is a lifelong disease process.
Right.
And so there is no magic pill, unfortunately. And so any weight loss medication is going to be like a lifelong medication, just like high blood pressure medication or high cholesterol medication that you will need to take for the remainder of your life to really maintain that weight loss with it.
And the approach has to be like it is with any other, with a lot of health issues, is this is not an acute situation you're dealing with. Correct. It's a chronic situation. We talk that a lot. And, one of the, and the person a lot of folks are going to see where they've come in before they get around to seeing you is they're going to walk in the door or call up and they're going to be talking to you, Carrie, because you coordinate this program. Talk about, when that first call comes in, what do you hear most of the time from folks calling in?
I think that oftentimes it's just been a long time struggle and trying to look at all the options that are available. And with each patient, it's not a one size fits all for the options for the treatment of obesity. And so you have to take into consideration the cost if you choose the medical route, because it is lifelong. Insurance coverage has a lot to do with both the medication and the surgery, because not all insurance plans cover one or the other. And so that's a big conversation that we have initially with patients before they see our providers, is if their insurance covers surgery.
Yeah, and we're going to get onto that topic a little bit later, because it's not a simple answer. It's rather a detailed answer, and there's a lot of legwork folks have to do. Katie, what is it you do within the program as the nurse practitioner here?
Oftentimes I see patients for the initial consultation, and some patients come in undecided whether they want to proceed with medical or surgical weight loss. So we have that open discussion. I focus mainly on the surgical weight loss options. But again, when you start looking through patients' history over the years, they've tried medications, and maybe they worked for a period of time. But again, like the medications, you have to stay on lifelong. So really talking about the options and discussing what hasn't worked for them and what they want to do to see what could help with their weight loss journey. So
and I would take it though that by the time someone has contacted y'all, they are at a kind of, many times I want to say, I don't want to call it a low point, but kind of their self-confidence is down. So in many ways too, you're not just talking about a medical procedure, you're talking about a whole person approach. And that's the one thing I think that makes this program stand out from others. It's not what you see in commercials. Talk about that. And I promise you, Chelsea, we're going to have you chime in here on this too. While we're doing this, let's make sure that we introduce Chelsea Hoover. She is the dietitian within the program here. So, in a big part of this program. So feel free to chime in on this part too, Chelsea, is that when you hear from folks, you alluded to it, that they have tried other things, they're there. And I don't want to say this is a last hope type thing, but in many cases for folks, it is, I need to do something. And I'm one of those, by the way. And we'll talk more about my story here in a little bit. But just talk about, because you have to be part counselor, part medical, part of healthcare provider, but also someone to say, hey, we're going to work with you on this. This is not just come in and get your surgery and get done. Mm-hmm. It is, like you said, Dr. McTaggart, it is a lifelong commitment. Talk about that part of the process.
So I think the surgery is a tool. It's not some surgeries you get your surgery and then you're done. There's a lot of work on the front end to prepare patients for the surgery and the life changes after surgery, because it's not just the surgery itself. It's lifestyle changes, not just diet and exercise, but managing sleep and stressors and the whole picture to be successful afterwards. So we do a lot of preparation on the front end, one, to make sure that we've got our patients as healthy as they can be before we take them to elective surgery, but then also that they're going to be successful afterwards and are prepared for the changes.
And in fact, Chelsea Hoover, she's the dietitian for the program. Mm-hmm. Chelsea, talk about that, because it is a lifestyle change, and that's a big part of your role in working with these patients, right?
Absolutely. So I meet with patients both pre and post surgery in order to make sure that they understand the dietary modifications that are going to be required, for them to be safe and successful after surgery, in order to achieve the weight loss that they're looking for, and also to maintain it long term.
And when does that process start for you? It's well before someone sets their date for surgery, is it not?
Yes, usually the process is 3 to 6 months long. So at any point during that process, I would have at least 2 visits with each patient in order to kind of present initial information to them, and then kind of a follow-up to do a little knowledge check and make sure that they feel comfortable with implementing that information once they do get their surgery.
And that's an important part of this is that this goes to what you had said before, Dr. McTaggart, is that this is a commitment here, no matter what. If you want better health and do that, this is not just, hey, you've had the surgery, you're done. And if anyone wants to see an example of that, here you go. I think I had taken that approach. Well, early on, it was great. Then I just kind of let it go. I started off saying, no excuses. And then all it takes is one change. It's like trying to lose weight in the first place, is it not? It is, hey, I have fallen down here and I got to get back on track. It is a process, not a event. I guess that's the best way of saying it.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it, because it's not just a quick fix. This is, like Carrie, I think, had said, it's a tool that we are able to provide you with. But we're not just providing you the tool of surgery. At UTMB, with our program, we're providing you with the tool of multidisciplinary team that is here with you, not just from the day you walk into our office, but we're here with you lifelong, as long as you're here with us. We like to follow our patients every year. So even after surgery, it's not like we kick you to the curb. We want you to come back. We want to see you in our clinic. We want to make sure you're doing okay. We want to follow up with you if there are issues, or if you're having issues with maybe weight regain or any struggle. We know who to plug you back in with. If it's not with us, we have the resources to help you.
When we come back, we're going to dive into how the process works. And this is going to be a long part of it, Carrie, as we talk about the insurance side of things, because that's always probably the big question that comes out of folks. Hey, can I afford this? Can my insurance pay for it? Which is always the big question for folks in that. And we will be doing that when we come back after these words from UTMB Health.
There's nothing more important than quality health care for you and your family. That's why UTMB Health is in the communities where you live, providing easy access to innovative care. At UTMB, we know our patients need personalized care to lead healthy and fulfilling lives, providing everything from primary care and specialty care to urgent care and emergency medicine. UTMB knows healthcare. UTMB knows you. To find a UTMB doctor near you, visit utmbhealth.com.
And welcome back to UTMB Health Insights. We are talking about bariatric surgery. There is, just to make sure we have a clarification here at UTMB Health, there is a bariatric a weight loss surgical side. There's also the medical side of that. Carrie, I wonder if you can kind of explain the differences for folks who are watching here and understand. There's a system in place that you can go either route. Here, a lot of times folks will start on the medical side and then come over to surgery. But talk about how that process goes for patients.
Depending on what they're desiring to look at, what kind of options they are. Yes, there's a medical side and a bariatric surgery side. They're two separate entities, but also work together. So we're in the same location as far as clinic visits in League City. Endocrinology providers manage the medical weight loss piece. And so like you said, patients may start with medical, and then as they're meeting with those providers, they may identify that maybe the patient needs bariatric surgery and may refer them to us. And I think we're getting to a point where it works both ways. There may be patients that we see in our bariatric surgery clinic that maybe a good option is to start with medical weight loss and then come back to us when they've achieved, gotten to certain points in their health.
So again, go and talk about the process here.
Yeah.
It's individualized.
Very.
It is y'all sit down with the patient and figure out a plan for them. And that's where, and I always talk about this because this is what Dr. Reiser has been talking about since he got here, about breaking down the silos of there's not just one area. I know at one time, for example, people would come in and meet with a general, their doctor, who then says, well, let me get you over to the dietitian. So they may have run over to Chelsea for a little while, and then Chelsea does her part and says, well, maybe we need to have you go and meet with the weight loss side of things. And then that's another referral and another referral. This is about sitting down, get the consultation, and then customizing it to the patient. Is that a fair way of putting it?
Absolutely.
Chelsea, let me ask you here, when folks come in, what's the most common, this being Christmas time. So I know that when I say this, that as I point this out, it's going to be one of those, well, I'll say, what's the most common food mistake they have outside of eating chocolate? What is the most common dietary mistake that folks are making in the general part of their lives?
You're saying not in regards to bariatric surgery at all,
just overall. Overall, what's the most common mistake? Maybe not mistake. What's the most common thing people do that really throws their diet off?
I would say probably portion size, because anything can be consumed in moderation. I just think that a lot of times, things are so delicious that we just want to really enjoy that, really maybe more than is best for our health, especially around the holidays or during parties and things like that. I think kind of overindulgence, especially whenever that becomes a habit rather than, an occasional occurrence, can really get people into trouble with their weight.
Yeah, and that's and I'm glad you brought it up that way, because I was that was the thing with me, is that I remember, and this was 2012, 11, 12 or 13, somewhere there. It was actually kind of a 2-year process when I had the sleeve back when Dr. Akazi was still here. So I think y'all found some stuff in the office that's still dusted off with his name on it. But it was one of those things that I was surprised by was, I can eat all this stuff still. I just have to eat smaller portions of it. And it is, our taste buds take over a lot in this process. I saw you nod in your head about that there, Katie, is that when
I think everybody's guilty of that in talking about proportion sizes. So definitely, and that's what we're there for in the post-operative phase 2, because we do initially see patients around 2 weeks, for sure 2 weeks post-op, and then 6 weeks, and then 6 months, and then 1 year afterward, and then like Carrie said, every year afterwards. So it's really accountability, right? You really need someone to hold you accountable so you don't go back into those bad habits after the surgery. So, and that's what we're here for, is to be your accountability and just to keep you right on track. So
one of the things in my own failings on this was, early on, I was going to the meetings, which really those support group meetings, and then after a while, life gets in the way and everything else. That's really important to make those things, is it not, Gary?
Yes, support from different sources is very important. And so we do offer monthly support groups. We currently do them virtually through a Teams meeting. We try to offer different times so we do once a month. We vary the times so that we can have more options for people to join. So one month may be noon, the next one's at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then one at 6 o'clock in the evening. We always offer some sort of information up front. So we take turns presenting to our group, and then we open it up for discussion and question and answers. And I oftentimes say that the support group, I need it just as much as our patients do, because it's always good to know that there are other people on this journey like you are, and then to have those conversations and get those experiences. You may have someone who just signed up, they just had their initial consult, and then we also have someone in the meeting that had surgery 18 months ago, and for them to be able to share their experience and kind of give them some insight from the patient's perspective on what the process looks like.
And I wondered, too, are we seeing now, this may be one of those great things that came out of COVID, you talked about the team meetings versus when I was doing this, you had to go up to the League City, you had to go to a little group center. That was actually, and I don't want to sound lazy, at a time when we're talking about getting disciplined and everything else, but our lives do come in the way of those things. I mean, and it was like, okay, I was living in League City at the time, so I wasn't far from the I mean, I think 4 miles tops, but still it became, I got to drive over there. I've been working all day. I'm tired. But now, even if you're tired or you just, you can sit down with your phone, your tablet, or your laptop and participate in those supports. How big of a change has that really helped, do y'all think, having these meetings that you're able to get those support groups of everyone online just chatting?
Oh, absolutely. It's a lot more convenient to be able to, get on our phone or our laptop and jump on a meeting and get that support versus having to, travel somewhere.
And in fact, I think, Chelsea, that for a dietitian, that also helps in many ways. You can schedule things up that matches both you and the patient's schedule, right?
As far as virtual visits with me?
Yeah. Do you do it virtually, or do you insist on in person?
So as of right now, I just provide in-person visits. And I will say that patients who have had encounters with dietitians in the past that were virtual, they say, oh my goodness, like it was so much more beneficial to see you in person and really get to, visualize portion sizes and things like that to just, they just really get a lot more out of it in person. So, the visits aren't obviously as frequent as maybe the support groups, but I do think that the benefit is truly there.
Yeah, but yeah, do you still have the little fake steak and stuff like that you show folks?
I have some portion size cups and things like that, but no fake steak.
I think I kept a lot of those around over the year. Every once in a while I come across one of them. I say, I remember this thing. And one of the things they gave me was a fake chicken and a fake steak of how it would look, So I'd like compare it. I actually would bring it out at times and compare it at restaurants or something like that. Let's real fast, Carrie, let's talk about that first of the process, because I mentioned the insurance side of things, paying for it. That is a big hurdle for many folks here. Talk about that and what's done to help folks in those cases.
So there's a lot of different insurance plans out there. And they are not all the same. So coverage for bariatric surgery varies from plan to plan. And so but when patients make an appointment in our clinic staff call the insurance company beforehand to get a pre-verification of benefits. So it's kind of preliminary call to see if the plan that the patient has covers the surgery. If it does, then we, move on with that initial consult. We do find that most of the time our Medicaid and Medicare plans cover are the Blue Cross Blue Shield, your commercial payers. Sometimes they have special requirements. And so sometimes they will dictate how long the program has to be before surgery. Some insurance companies require a 6-month program where you have to come in monthly. A lot of them are moving away from that, where they don't really dictate the amount of time that you're in the program, but we still have a few. So in some instances that will say how long you have to go through the workup process before you can get to surgery.
And that's going to be the part, I call it the bureaucratic side of this, is that be patient, be ready. This is the one thing I think folks only deal with their insurance companies when there's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm one of those that I'm on the phone with them constantly. And it's helped because I'll know what their processes are, and I do the research ahead of time and talk to them. And then I'm constantly, then the one thing I do, if we're on Texas Select, so that's, which is, I think everybody that has any state connection, that's like all of us are on the same thing. That when you make that phone call, then you get 1,000 pieces of literature and emails and everything else on the subject you called about. So, and if you read those, they actually are helpful. For folks though that say, okay, well, insurance ain't going to pay for it, or they'll only do this portion. There is the cash pay out there. And I will say, when I asked you this the other day, Dr. Taggart, that it shocked me because it's actually less than what I paid, because I paid out of pocket when I did this in 11. How much is it for, in general? Obviously, there's more to it than that, but just for the surgical side of things.
My understanding, and Carrie might also be able to comment, is and I really can't comment on some of the other procedures, but the more common, or the ones that we're doing probably most frequently, gastric bypass and gastric sleeve. Gastric bypass is somewhere around $20,000. Gastric sleeve is somewhere around $15,000, and that's not completely all inclusive, but that's for the most surgery, part, that's the surgery in the hospital. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
If you have complications, I think that all changes.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the higher expense of those things. Is there at times, Carrie, that when you're working with patients that you can do a combination of both? For the surgery they pay, but then the health insurance will kick in on the other stuff, because that's also a problem there. It's like, well, if you paid cash here, it may kick you out on the other end.
So there, and I'm not the insurance expert. Thankfully, we have someone in clinic who does know the ins and outs of insurance, because they are so different. Some plans may not cover the surgery itself, but they'll cover a lot of the workup, because the workup does include things like imaging and radiology and blood work and endoscopy. And so it really is dependent on the plan, but there's definitely a financial piece to this. But thankfully, we have people who know the ins and outs and can get you, because sometimes even the plan may cover the surgery, but there's a deductible that has to be paid for it. And so it's very each just as much as the treatment plan is different, the insurance plans tend to be just as different and individualized.
But that is something you have. I want to say, someone going to bat for you.
Oh yes,
from the clinic. Yeah. Working on that as well. So again, it's part of the overall, and I can't stress that enough, that's what we're talking about. Well, of course, we could keep this conversation going for a while, but I did want to talk about, because I think there's some folks that are in my position, for example, and if it's their best path or not. But you see it on your screen, folks, is we do have a link. You can find out more. It's utmbhealth.com/bariatrics. That will get you to the site to have some more. So we talked about, you're seeing more revisions coming in now than before, as we've seen this kind of go over time. As I had pointed out, I had the gastric sleeve done, and it worked wonderfully. I mean, but again, you had to stay on the program, stay on that. Started making excuses. Had some other health issues, allowed, this to go on. For when you have someone who it would be kind of, I call it recidivism in this. How do you approach that differently than, say, a first-time patient coming in?
So I think, again, it's individualized, because some patients come in that have had bariatric surgery previously and really didn't have any preoperative support or postoperative support. And then you get patients who had a lot of that. And so they're kind of coming from two very different places. Someone who really didn't have any support, had the surgery, and then kind of was left on their own devices to be successful. I think that person is almost as like a new patient to us, or to bariatric surgery in general, because they really were not exposed to what the process really should be. And that's what we have at UTMB, is the support. And I can't stress it enough, is the support, because that is how all of our patients are going to be successful. You cannot do this alone. And it's not just support from all of us, but also support from those around you. So I approach it as everyone is a new patient to me, and then obviously cater it to what their experience was with their previous surgery.
And in Chelsea, on your end of things, when someone's had surgery and they're now coming back in and they're meeting down with you, is there a different approach because they've already struggled, they've gone through the process, they've struggled getting back on plan. What is the process then that you work with them on the diet side of things?
To me, it would really be just getting back to basics and kind of revisiting those things that hopefully they were instructed about whenever they had their previous surgery. Like Dr. McTaggart mentioned, sometimes patients don't have a lot of that, and so it is kind of an initial education. But I think really encouraging them to follow up with me periodically, whether that's every 3 months, every 6 months, but certainly not just one and done kind of conversation, because everyone has life events that come up or other priorities that appear in their lives, and so diet is not always going to be at the top of their list. And I recognize that, and no one should feel any shame about kind of falling off the wagon. It's really just a matter of kind of picking yourself back up and dusting yourself off and starting back over again.
And that's the big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just, hey, put it in your past, move forward, just like someone may have gone in. But now, in my story particularly on this is that what we have found is, and your colleague Dr. Samory and I, that's how we got in the discussion. She was on the show with us when the program was first starting back again, as I should say. Mm-hmm. And we had this long discussion. One of the things we found, this is the best path for me right now, is because of the testing showing I'm diabetic now, is to go ahead and go with one of the weight loss drugs and see how that does. But at the same time, let's see how that's working on. But as you had pointed out, that's going to be a lifelong commitment, no matter what. You don't get to stop on that. And that can be trying for some folks and the like. But again, I'm an example of in which, instead of going for the path of just going straight into surgery and knowing what to expect there, it was, hey, still being part of it. And I think they're going to send me over to talk to Chelsea a couple of times as well at some point too, as they come over, or at least one of your colleagues. How many dietitians are actually in the UTMB health system now? There used to be not many actually, but you're not just by yourself over there, are you, Chelsea?
At the moment, I am by myself. So the schedule fills up. So go ahead and get your name on the list, and I'm happy to see you.
No, I just want to say, because it is about the whole be ready for that. That's the one thing we want folks to be discussing as well. And there's a whole lot more information that can be had on this subject. And again, we encourage you. The link is in your comment section as well, but it's utmbhealth.com/bariatrics. You can find out some more there. You can also find out about the medical weight loss program that UTMB Health has. And if you have a UTMB Health physician, talk to them, because if they're doing their job and you're doing your job as the patient, you'll be able to find the right path. Mm-hmm. I want to thank y'all for coming on with us here today. It's been informative. I hope for our viewers, it's been the same way. Any final thoughts? We'll start with you, Chelsea. Any final thoughts you have?
I would really just say that, we're here for you. I know a lot of patients lament that they haven't gotten the support that they needed throughout their journey in order for them to be successful. So however often, patients need to come see me, I am here, and, I'm always willing to support you throughout your journey.
All right. And Katie?
So I feel like, bariatric surgery, people are focusing on like the weight loss, the pounds lost, but you have so many more benefits of bariatric surgery. For instance, helping with high blood pressure, diabetes, hyperlipidemia, or joint pains. So not only do you get the weight loss, but you get help with so many other things that are happening with your health. So really take that into consideration if you are considering weight loss surgery.
Gary?
Yep, I think I agree with what Katie said, and we have a team here that's dedicated to seeing our patients through this whole process and journey, from preparing to the surgery itself and the post-op care to the long journey ahead. And so we're all very dedicated to the success of our patients. And you can get to us, like you said, through your primary care doctor, but we have online scheduling. You can call the Access Center if you just want to come in for a consultation. We're easily accessible.
Great. And Dr. McTaggart, how about you? We'll give you the final word on this segment.
Sounds good. I'm going to just fourth, I guess, everything that's already been said. It's not necessarily just about the weight loss. It's really about getting you and you as the patient to the healthy lifestyle that you want to be at, so you don't feel limited by excess weight or medical comorbidities. I recently had a patient that said it perfect. She said, "Thank you for giving me my life back."
That's a good final word right there. Appreciate it. Again, you can go online. We had the link in our comment section. You take it up. When we come back, we're going to talk about a different story here that we just did this week of a new partnership, UTMB Health and the Weiss Center, and we'll be talking about that right after these words from UTMB Health.
There's nothing more important than quality health care for you and your family. That's why UTMB Health is in the communities where you live, providing easy access to innovative care. At UTMB, we know our patients need personalized care to lead healthy and fulfilling lives, providing everything from primary care and specialty care to urgent care and emergency medicine. UTMB knows healthcare. UTMB knows you. To find a UTMB doctor near you, visit utmbhealth.com.
There we go. The collaboration we are beginning today is an investment in the development of cutting-edge neuroscience analysis, AI software that enhances predictive capabilities, and building a cadre of world-renowned top talent from both our institutions to create neurotechnologies with global impact. It's very special, and we should consider ourselves very fortunate to have the knowledge here. And the knowledge comes from all the students, the professors, the staff that are contributing to deriving new knowledge every day. But what we are right now is we are in a time and in a space that makes collaboration so powerful, and Texas happens to be the best space to do that. And that's why other partners from all over the world are coming to us to work with us on truly cutting-edge leading science and product developments. And that will benefit our patients with no doubt.
UTMB Health and the Weiss Center together, to me, made a lot of sense. We are a neurotechnology institution. We develop prototypes that give rise to new therapeutic products. We do not have a medical center and hospitals and medical students and doctors taking care of patients. So I think that's a perfect combination, bringing technology to a first-rate medical care facility in Texas, in the Houston region. And as you could tell from the presence here at this event of a representative from Texas Medical Center and from the UT system at large, this can just be sort of the entry point to a larger partnership with Texas institutions that is anchored here in Galveston and the Houston area, but has hopefully soon reach beyond into many of the excellent Texas institutions.
We're going toward our goal. And our goal, as I said earlier, is really serving our community here and offering the most innovative and the most recent neurotechnology or technology in the neurological field to combat many neurological diseases, but most importantly, very debilitating diseases such as Alzheimer's disease and related disorders. Imagine spinal cord injury. At that point, you have a severed spinal cord, and you need to build a bridge for those nerves to grow back. But our body is enabled to grow that bridge to allow nerve to grow back and functioning come back. Therefore, you need to somewhat offer through technology that bridge for nerve to grow. And that's what, in this case, neurotechnology and the partnership with the WIS Center is intended to achieve.
From that first embrace through all the years to come, OBGYN specialists at UTMB Health are here to care for women in all seasons of life. UTMB knows women's health. UTMB knows you. UTMBhealth.com. There's nothing more important than quality health care for you and your family. That's why UTMB Health is in the community. There's nothing more important than There's nothing more important than quality health care for you and your family. That's why UTMB Health is in the communities where you live, providing easy access to innovative care. At UTMB, we know our patients need personalized care to lead healthy and fulfilling lives, providing everything from primary care and specialty care to urgent care and emergency medicine. UTMB knows healthcare. UTMB knows you. To find a UTMB doctor near you, visit utmbhealth.com.
Again, thanks for everyone for joining us on watching our show here today, and it was thanks again for to the WE Center and UTMB Health. That was our Paul Cater Deaton who covered that story. That was a big agreement that you heard about here. Dr. Taggett actually talked about that on the show with us here not too long ago. I wanted to get a chance to to a big shout out to someone who's been very important to the show, and that is, as you see it here now, this was last night at what's called the Open Gates that UTMB building has there. It's a retirement party for our favorite friend at UTMB Health, Becky Trout Ubbenhagen, Rebecca Trout Ubbenhagen. 34 years she's been with UTMB Health, and announced her retirement. She's got the grandkids all living up in this area. Her and her husband Mike to spend more time there. But Becky was the person who came up with the idea for this show when it was originally called UTMB Health Insights. So I want to do a salute to her, but let's hear from her what she had to say as well.
For the next 34 years. But here I am. I certainly did not come to UTMB with that thought in mind, but life and career happened, and suddenly everything added up to more than 3 decades of unforgettable work experiences and service to UTMB. In all fairness, I have not stayed in the same job for 34 years, although it's been close. I have had an incredible career here. I have walked the halls of Congress and the Department of Defense. I've traveled abroad to learn of biomedical research in Scotland and had my luggage lost in France. I wrote a fascinating work by incredible scientists. I marched with dozens, including Jaime, on Galveston County to bring more healthcare services to more people. I managed millions in grant funding to rebuild area nonprofits following Hurricane Ike. I worked side by side with national media, foreign dignitaries, and celebrities. And I purchased more little black dresses for more families than I ever imagined. So, yet none of my work adventures compare with the people I've had the honor of working with here at UTMB and in the communities that we serve. I have been fortunate to know the mentorship and caring of Dr. Ben Raymer, the calm, no-nonsense professionalism and kindness of Becky Krennick, the global vision of Dr. Reiser, the modesty of Beth Stone, the dry humor of Matt Furlong, the brilliant mind of Pep Valdez, the ingenious creative talents of Mike Cooper, and the determined enthusiasm of Lori Blackwell. But these are only a few of the many members of the people that became my UTMB family that I've enjoyed working with over the years. I was very proud to represent UTMB in the community with chambers of commerce and school districts, with industry and donors, with government leaders and rival healthcare providers, and to share UTMB's story with them and help to build the partnerships that furthered UTMB's mission while bringing greater sense of value to the work that I did. I've learned much from UTMB, and I've done a job for the university of which I am extremely proud. I have always strived to give UTMB my best, and I believe that the work that we've done in community engagement has been significant. I know David and his wonderful team, with all of their talent and strive, will keep community engagement moving forward for UTMB, and I hope everybody's had a chance to meet David. If not, please do so before you leave today. I'm honored to count myself among the UTMB family, and I'm grateful for the many opportunities that UTMB provided me. Thank you again, and Merry Christmas from me and Mike and the whole trout of the Hagen gang.
So again, our dear friend Becky Trout Uppenhagen, that was her retirement soiree we had at UTMB Health's Open Gates Tuesday night here in Galveston, and we just wish her the best in her retirement. I've known Becky the entire time she's been at UTMB Health. She was instrumental in getting me involved with the Galveston County Food Bank Board of Directors many years ago. We have worked on several community projects together over the years. And obviously, too, then it was her idea during the middle of COVID to make sure that the public was still hearing from UTMB health experts about what's being done for their health, not just on COVID, which was the original idea of the show, but also on everything else here. And now that's been morphed into UTMB Health Insights. And we're going to, obviously, she ain't leaving our area. She and Mike, her husband, live up in Friendswood. So I know that she's in our area, and we're still going to see her out and about. In fact, I think in UTMB Health is actually found some projects for her to work on while on the side while she's enjoying her retirement. So she's not totally out the door for there. So anyway, so thanks to Becky for all you've done, and thanks for putting the idea for the show together. We appreciate you always, and we appreciate all of you who've been watching throughout this year. If you got a show idea, go ahead and email us at news@i45now.com. We'd like to hear from you. Until next year, have yourself a good one. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and Happy Holidays.